getting my attention is the women's baseball, softball.
I haven't even heard of that.
They did not.
Okay, that thing is, we're good on there, we're good up here.
Okay, I'd like to call to order the planning board meeting. Can I get a motion to open the Bellingham Planning Board meeting Thursday, July 23rd, 2026 at 7 p.m. at the Arcan Meeting Room?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
I'll second that.
Roll call those.
Steve, aye.
Patrick, aye.
Phil, aye.
Marty, aye. Motion passes 5-0. Can we stand for the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'll entertain a motion to continue the public hearing of Red Mill subdivision, request for major modification.
So moved, Phil.
Open the continued.
Oh, open the continue, sorry.
So moved, Phil.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Stephen, roll call vote.
Steve, aye.
Patrick, aye.
Phil, aye. Marty, aye. And. Okay, easy.
For the record, I'm Jeff Heidelberg from Toll Brothers.
And I'm Liz Clark with Time Bond.
So what we thought made sense was pretty much reintroducing the full project from the beginning. So I know that there's some of you that did the project previously, some who haven't. But it made sense to just kind of start all over again. Just so everybody's on the same page and understands where we've been and what we're trying to do.
Okay,
You should be able to share.
You're just getting a blue swirly.
Yeah, apologies. I don't know
I'm getting the connection is unstable, so,
from me.
no, from on my computer, I'm on Wi-Fi too, so. Blue swirl of death. I would give you, are you on a hotspot or do you need the,
I am. I was able to
okay.
come back. Now I'm just working through one screen. Yeah, thank you for the information. Okay. Okay. As Jeff mentioned, we're just gonna do an update on where we've been, how this process has started. This is the Red Mill on the Charles. It's a major, and we're requesting a major site plan modification. The project was initially approved back in 2021. Since then, the Toll Brothers has become involved. And to accommodate their preferred home products as well as modify the construction schedule to work as well as to modify their construction schedule, we've worked through a few requests on the conditions as well as some tweaks to the layout. So as I mentioned, the permit was approved back in September of 2021. The project is for 105 single-family homes, 66 townhomes on 85.6 acres. The site has frontage on Mechanic Street, Route 140, and then on Mill Street. Currently, it is an active gravel yard. So in this portion, right around here, there is active earth removal going on. The project will preserve about 45% of the total property as open space. Those are the areas that are shaded in gray, and that totals about 38.4 acres.
Can I ask a question? You just
Yeah.
mentioned it's an active gravel removal going on now. That's new to this project, right? Because it wasn't active prior to this project when we permitted it. Is that correct?
I don't believe so. I mean, ever since we've been involved, they've been actively working on the site.
When
So
was that?
we started fall of last year.
Okay, because
I don't know if in 2021 it was or
in
wasn't.
2021, you used to look out over everything and there was no active gravel project. That's what I'm asking.
Is it the earth removal portion of that permit?
It's a special
Is that a
permit that's
special
from the
permit?
zoning
Right.
board of appeals, so that's what, okay, so you've already started the,
So we have,
that approval. Okay, that's fine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying that.
So modification requests. So we initially came to the board back in February, discussed if we were going down a minor or a major path. We voluntarily opted for the major path after meeting and submitted our application in March of this year. Our modifications include a lot reconfiguration and a little bit of a roadway alignment on 2 of the roads, adjustments to the stormwater management system, and then permit amendments related to phasing and occupancy, and then as well with the garage facade placements. We obtained a ZBA variance back in February. This allowed the project to convert from having triplexes in those combined parcels to duplexes. It was just kind of the way that the regulations were written. Triplexes were allowed and duplexes were not. So we did get a waiver on that. And then we also got relief on front and side setbacks related to those townhomes. Now, this is just a timeline of what we've been doing since November. We started meeting with the previous town planner and assistant town manager to discuss our potential permitting paths in November. January, we submitted our ZBA amendment variance and then also met with the Conservation Commission and again with the town planner. February, met with the ZBA, got approval of that variance, met with the planning board thereafter, opted to go with the major amendment after meeting with you. And then we had our initial Conservation Commission hearings. Following that in March, we submitted the major modification application. And at the end of April, we had our initial peer review letter received. We came back in May to the planning board after submitting responses to the peer review, and then got our supplemental in June, and here we are now. So to go a little bit deeper into these modifications, this is the first. So we are proposing to modify the two roadways, which were formerly called Road B and Road C, and are now Leslie Road and Hatfield Road. And then also to modify 29 lots that are abutting those changes and 2 stormwater lots. So the previous approved plan didn't have homes on it. It was an approved subdivision. It showed the roadways, the infrastructure to support them, but it didn't have the detail of having each individual lot planned out. And we've advanced the plans to incorporate that stuff. And as we did that, these adjustments seemed to be necessary to accommodate the proposed homes. So really just a modification for constructability.
So it's the same count that was previously proposed. We're not
Yep.
adding additional lots. It was simply just a reconfiguration where there were some of the lots were like V-shaped. And so you were getting pinched really down very tightly. So this kind of just by shifting the roadway slightly, it opened up these parcels to allow the homes to actually be constructed on each lot.
But the lots were established at that point and you're asking to be
Exactly.
changed.
Correct.
Okay, so they were established.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
The stormwater system, so the previous approved layout had swales on, for open drainage on Road A, which is now Hannah Road, Road B, which is Leslie Road, and Road C, Hatfield Road. With a development like this, where you have tighter lots that enable you to preserve a lot of the open space. You have driveways at a very tight cadence. To accommodate an open drainage system, you would have a lot of culverts. So it would be a little open swale followed by a culvert and a cadence of like every 200 feet or so. That is a hard system to maintain from the DPW's perspective. So we have modified the stormwater system so that it's now a closed drainage system. This was talked about in our pre-applications meetings. It was supported by the Department of Public Works as well as the planning department at the time. So we have made those modifications, and we had also, again, as mentioned before, the previous approved plans didn't have all the details of having each individual lot designed. So now we have updated the stormwater management system to accommodate that further design. We were able to do this without altering the hydrology, so to speak. So we're making sure that everything is still going where it was planned to. We were able to take a look and make modifications to the outfalls and drive some efficiencies in the basins as well. And that has been the subject of the peer review that we've been going back and forth with on Beals and Thomas. Okay. Phasing. So the current approval is structured that requires 75% of the total lots in the current phase to obtain certificates of occupancy before the next phase can be over. This provides a significant roadblock for the construction team. What we've developed here is what we call is 3 alternatives on the phasing schedule. And you can see the top one shows the condition as written, where it has a substantial gap where our crews will have to leave the site. They will demobilize and there'll be a lag in the full build out. I think we demonstrated about more than a 3-year lag with the current condition as written.
If I can expand upon that a
Yeah.
little bit, if you could bring up the spreadsheet that we submitted, that's the backup for this chart.
Yeah.
So there's 2 different home types here. There's duplexes and there's single family homes. And so what we're looking at here is what is that lag on either home type? Because there are 2 different markets. Just because we have duplexes available to sell doesn't mean that everybody who was going to buy a single family home is now going to buy a duplex. So it's 2 different markets, 2 different price points. While we have duplexes for sale, single family home sales may be completely stalled. That's where you see or saw this significant pause, that was in that long red line, was there's no single family homes being sold at that point. We could only be selling duplexes. That's based upon the current phasing plan and the current condition as it's written. When we met in May, I think it was, when we were last year, we had offered a different phasing plan. With if we kept the conditions the same, but we followed that phasing plan, we would still see a 1 year gap between each phase 1 to phase 2. So what this does really is what Liz was saying. Everybody would demobilize. We wouldn't be able to sell homes, construct homes for about a year. And our entire team, construction team would need to leave, demobilize, and then come back onto the site later. What ends up happening essentially is when you look at this gap schedule, I don't know that. Yeah.
I don't know
zoom
what
in a
to
little
do
bit.
here.
What happens when we look at this gap schedule, we're looking at under the current condition, we would basically be selling out, if we were able to sell at what we would expect our pace to be, we would be finishing in mid-2035. Even with the revised phasing, if the condition remained as it is, we would be finishing in mid-2033. So that's the genesis of the request to modify this condition. We can get into the details of this if you'd like, a little bit further. But I wanted to just point out, what we had done, what we were looking at, in modifying the condition would move us down to that third phase where we would be able to finish in early 2031 at the pace that we would like to move forward at. It sounded like there were concerns based upon other subdivisions in town. I just wanted to walk through a little bit of the protections that the town does have already built into the permit, that we think provides the board some assurances that we're not going to disappear, that we do need to finish lots, we do need to take care of drainage. If you could flip these slides, sorry to jump back.
It's testing the strength of our.
Sorry.
Okay, we need some stress tests every once in a while.
Okay, I'll get back to these. Here we go. This one? Hang on, it's gonna get there. Here we go.
So as it stands today, there's these 6 conditions that are already in the special permit that has been granted. That we think provides the board with a lot of protections. At any point, you can come out onto the site, you can submit a stop work order. There's a lot of control that you have here already built into these permits that have been granted. But what I wanted to point out or step forward one step further, if you can go to the next slide. There's a bond also that's being held by the town. And I understand that there's always concern about being able to access that bond. What I'm suggesting here is we come up with some sort of deposit that goes into the planning board's account. I used $50,000 as the starting point for that conversation, so that if we aren't acting in your interests, you have concerns, we have 7 days to rectify whatever it is that you see that has gone wrong. You have access to this cash to do whatever it is to rectify the problem. The reason why this is such a big deal to us is we can't move forward with the project under the current condition. That it doesn't work. Just because of the gaps, we can't operate that way. So I'm trying to find a way that we are able to move forward with a modification to that condition. And that's what we can settle on a larger number, if that makes sense. If this isn't, we don't think that it'll be used. So that's why we think it's reasonable for us to suggest this as an additional condition that gets added to the special permit. So, sorry, I jumped into a lot of detail there on the phase-in. I know we're going over everything. But the phasing plan that we had suggested in May is on the next slide. We can jump back to that, this was the language that we had suggested along with the phasing plan itself. And again, this was, instead of basing things on certificate of occupancies, we were basing progression from one phase to the next on building permits. The last thing that we have been talking about and was requested further details on were the homes themselves, what they look like. We are requesting that we remove this condition at 50%, have these the porch and the garage one proud of the other at 50-50. For the homes that we're designing or we have designed, pushing the garage back makes basically the kitchen unusable. The way that the floor plan works is that garage in the front allows that kitchen to be placed in the rear. And one of the concerns that was brought up was, that this is going to look very cookie cutter because of that. So I wanted to show that these are the 15 different plans that we have that are being offered. And we chose just one color palette here. There's 8 to 10 different color palettes depending on which model you choose. So in addition to these 15 models, you have 8 additional color schemes that can go along with those. So now you're looking at 80 potential different product types that could be out here. We think that that's a large amount of options, considering the total single family home count that we're talking about here. So with that, I think that was kind of where we were. I expanded on a couple of the items that we had talked about previously for everybody's benefit, but wanted to leave it there and turn it up to questions.
So your phasing plan that you submitted back in March, phase 1, 2, and red, yellow, and blue. Is there a reason you didn't put it on here in sequence so that it's all gold?
Oh, that's a good comment. Yes.
And I don't mean to be a pain, but it's like, it's very hard. You have phase 1, that's great. But it's like, okay, I'm not seeing the overlap now of what you're talking about of like moving on to the different phase. I'm not really seeing an overlap.
Yeah. So I think it's phase 1 is the gray, phase 2 is the green, and phase 3 is the blue in that Excel spreadsheet. But you're right, I can resubmit it with it being color coded instead. Good suggestion.
Bill, you have the most experience on the phasing part that we've encountered on town, and I know a lot of work went in on this. I kind of like your input. I kind of try to dissect this as best as possible.
Yeah.
It almost seems a little too truncated for me from the first one to the third, that maybe between 2 and 3.
Our goal here is that it's hard to get subcontractors, framers, roofers, etc., to come out to the site, stay on the site. And once you lose that engagement, it's hard to get them back out again. So our hope is that we want a project that we're working through it start to finish. We reduce that construction schedule. We're not having as many workers coming through the community for as many years as what's currently outlined. We're looking at I think it was 8 years total if we were to stick with what's currently drafted.
I guess can you describe why there's all that downtime? I mean, to me, why have downtime? Why not have, you're building them and selling them at the same time, right?
Oh, it's because of the 75% occupancy requirement.
And when we've seen other projects in place where you start building, you start selling, and then it's a progression. And it seems to have worked out a couple times, in town. Seems to work out. So I guess the downtime, can we bring the downtime up? And I'd like to. You're building it and then you've got marketing time? Is that what the downtime really is?
So this is
why?
we're waiting for the owner to take
But why would
to move
you,
in.
so if you build 10 and you start selling those 10 and
Yep.
you get to the point where your phases, you're building up the phase, you're selling them off as you build them.
So
I'm missing
if-
why it's
so
missing
if you
why
use
there's
your-
that
use your
large
10
period of time where there's no building happening.
So if you use your 10 as the example.
Yeah.
What was gonna happen is we sell 10
Yeah.
and then we are building them.
Oh.
And now we have no sales going on. We have to wait. Because we need that 75th%. We need that 7th unit occupied. Now that we've got that, well, 8th, we need that 8th unit occupied. Once that 8th unit is now occupied, I can come back out, I can now start selling again, and I can remobilize everybody and I can start building that next home. But for a period of time, it takes a year to build a home. Year, 14 months, depending on the home itself. We've got a year, so I'm building all 10 homes, even if I were able to sell all 10 at the same time and start construction on all 10 at the same time. Once I'm sold out of this phase, I have to wait till the 8th one is occupied and has a CO. So now I've waited that year before I can start my sales on my next one. So that's why all that downtime occurs.
And in this scenario, how many are in that phase?
We have 23 single-family homes and
So you do not. So did you divide up the townhouses versus the,
Correct.
so you're
Yeah.
building them in 2 different phases and?
no, so based upon the phase currently, if you zoom in there, the top is in each phase, the top portion is the single family home, the lower portion is the duplexes. That's why that very long red line is there, that's when the single family homes, we have no single family homes that can be sold because all the duplexes are in that phase. So it just creates this long duration where we have to wait till we've sold and constructed 66 duplexes. And once the 75th% is occupied, then we'll be able to start selling the next single family home.
Do you need additional phases?
What's that?
Do you need additional phases to get that 75%?
That would make it
Roller.
longer. That would make it longer.
So can I ask, one? Maybe you know Phil better than I, what, based on what they're proposing, what would be the reason why we wouldn't allow something like that? Because at the end of the day, this is gonna shorten the whole project rather than, so there's pluses and minuses, and given that the entire project can be shortened by doing what they're proposing, what's the downside of letting them do that? Because I don't know what the downside is.
Downside is if we run into problems, then the town doesn't have enough teeth to actually enforce what they need to enforce. $50,000, like you were suggesting, is. doesn't
Oh,
do
you were just
thing.
throwing that number out.
Even if it was, I mean, what's the average selling price of one of your houses? No,
I mean,
just you,
what does that have to do with,
well,
what's the concern here?
We're talking about teeth in the process.
You have a stop
Yeah, well,
order.
also, I guess, why is it within your subdivision regulations, there is sort of a calculation for coming to a surety.
Yep.
So that's still in place, yes,
Correct.
this is just $50,000 that the town can
Just-
easily access outside of,
The concern that was expressed to us
is that
was,
what
that
that
we weren't-
50,000 is? Okay.
the concern expressed to us was, we didn't want you to move into the next phase because somebody may be living there in the first phase.
Hmm.
Where stormwater management may not be fully completed, there may be a stockpile that's left behind, trash may be blowing around. These were the concerns, and so that's where the $50,000 comes in. You still have the sureties. But in addition to that, I'm saying, what if you also had access to just cash? It's sitting in an account, there's no difficulty in accessing it.
For DPW.
You can hire, a third party, you can hire whomever to go out, you give us a notice, and in 7 days, if we don't act, you have all the rights in the world to, and again, it doesn't have to be 50,000, it can be a number that we come up with, but this is not. The idea is, the concerns were, we weren't doing our job in protecting the homeowners that have moved in. So what is that, what could be going wrong out there that we need to have repaired? And that's,
And this cash would be used to mitigate any issues with the homeowners there,
Correct.
is what you're saying?
Yes.
And if we had to mitigate any issues, what would, and we use that cash, then what?
And we can be required to replenish the account as needed.
Yeah, so.
I guess I'd like to hear from,
the
I mean, I guess I'd like to hear from Inspectional Services director there to see if that's something that we've got a new director there, I believe, and it-
Or,
for inspection.
Yeah.
That would be in charge of monitoring this project. And I guess I'd like to hear, we're not gonna make a decision tonight on this, and I guess
Yeah.
I'd like to hear them weigh in. Is the phasing, a phasing as originally proposed beneficial for the town or not?
And I want to know if this is something that we can do. Is this something we can do, something we can even consider?
yes,
Okay.
yeah. Thank you for the question. So in previous communities that I've worked in, we've had, peer review services to sort of be like a clerk of the works. To oversee, be that special project manager for that, project. And,
Required on the condition number 3 already.
yeah,
I think it's also reiterated in a few other conditions
Yeah.
as well, and I do want to point out that we're not modifying all of condition 8 and that the town staff are still required to be engaged before they commence on another phase. So in addition to the double assurity that's being offered through the bond and the account, there still is review and coordination prior to engaging into another phase in the infrastructure, erosion control, and well as vegetation all need to be reviewed and approved by town staff as well. So it's not by any means giving them the run of the land to do what they want. It's just more of making sure that the timing works out.
and so within that peer review services, we would set up in our construction meeting, we would set up, these are the things that we as the town, per the decision, as well as, DPW want them to inspect when they're out there. And then they would do, reports and they'd submit those to the board. And they can be, whatever cadence you want those to be. And then they, again, would have to pay for that through the same 53G services as they, currently do now. And I've used Beals and Thomas for that, before.
And you could add to, you could even add to the condition that's already in there that says that we need town staff sign off in order to move from one phase to the next. You could have their input as well as a belts and suspenders.
Because of the way the phasing is set up with the single family and the duplexes. And now you had mentioned the roadways are gonna be 100% before you even do your first.
We would do the roadways at the beginning, that's correct.
Okay, so that's almost actually phase 1 is roadways and
So,
drainage.
yeah, so what we've done is we've included those roadways as part of the first phase.
That's what's in gray.
Yes.
Which you never see.
That's the benefit of being Toll Brothers.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I mean, we're here for the whole job.
Yeah,
So it makes
okay.
sense for us to build it out and
Yeah, that's usually the thing that I see is you see them where they stop and you're like, oh, interesting, they may just leave, So that's one thing that I noticed when I was looking at it. So it's not something that I've usually seen, so. Kudos to you on that.
And just remind me, what were the second and third, what colors?
the green was the second phase and the blue was the third.
So then what's the next step then, Marty or Phil on moving forward to looking at this the way that they're proposing? Because for me, I'd be in favor of obviously working with them to do what they're proposing to do because it shortens the cycle of getting everything done, and they seem to be wanting to work, in good faith to Rachel's point, they're doing the roadway as, first phase, so that would indicate that they have every intent to build out everything. So I'd like to see us find a way to make this work rather than a way not to make it work,
Right.
so.
With the conditions that you guys put in, Phil, back in 2021, I mean, they are, when you put up the slide, they're very detailed, reading very quickly. I think we collectively, the town is protected. I don't know how, obviously KP Law is gonna, how do we do this escrow account for mitigation if that should arise? Obviously, we would want, the town council to look at that to make sure that it is being set up in the proper manner so that if there does become an issue, we're protecting ourselves and holding you accountable at the same time.
Yeah, we have existing accounts, and I have done it in other communities, so.
Just anything I've been involved in the past has never had one, so I'm like, okay, I just would like it, town council to look at it. And is there anything like standing out?
No, it comes down to, we had some projects in the past that came in and didn't have the phasing, and basically we had trouble enforcing, town staff had trouble enforcing things like detention basins overflowing and things like that without fixing the problems as we go. So we started putting in the, multiple phasing because we had the ability to go in and say, you can't start the next, you don't get stick of occupancies. You need to have those taken care of, and then you can move to the next phase. I think I would like to hear from, town staff on that as far as to inspectional services. And go from there. I still. I'm still hard, but I'm still
Being
the 10%, the 10 versus the 20 versus whatever, I'm surprised that you wanting to, or even needing to shut down for that long. I mean, and move people,
Trust us, if it was easier and we could do it, we would do it. This isn't, I understand we're asking a lot, it's just that we literally have to walk from the project if we can't get this modified, because it is really that long of a delay. And it's just, we can't work on a project like that.
we've had recent ones like Harmony that, there was all sorts of phasing put in. And they worked with us. As a matter of fact, they bought the project from the prior owner there. They came in after buying the project out, and we had many more phases than we have here in place. And they worked through it, and it's built out at this point. And it wasn't multiple, it wasn't decades long.
I propose that we, maybe, take a look at what concerns we have regarding the homeowners themselves and ensure that the 50,000 would be enough to cover any concerns that would be there. And, we take that to town council and, the town staff. And then would it be enough time to make a decision by the next meeting?
Oh, I don't get to make a decision.
I mean, I think with the roadways being 100% complete, and then the manner in which they're phasing between the single family home and the duplexes and how they've got it configured here, they're not that where they're gonna be bothersome to one another. And I think with the conditions that are in place, I'm pretty okay with it. And actually dissecting this when I was at work today, I was kind of okay. I mean, I have a very large monitor and I was trying to follow it. And it was just, colors would have been better, but that's what you said. It made it difficult, but I was like, you know, with the 50% and knowing you're selling two different types of homes at the time, I think it's gonna help accelerate their sales process so that they will be kind of staying right behind each other. And then the middle is where they end, in phase three, so that they'll have already completed. And on the front side of the project and the backside, you're gonna see the development is gonna be active, so it's gonna show marketability to it. And yet they're selling both types at the same time. I'm not opposed to it, at all. Because I think the conditions that the prior planning board back in 2021, that was a very robust condition set, and I think giving a little bit of leeway on the percentages in the fact that the roads are being done 100%.
And the stormwater.
Stormwater too.
Stormwater, 100%.
Yeah.
Stormwater is the key. It's the
Right.
roads and the stormwater.
With that being in place, I think we're protecting the town, we're protecting the homeowners that are gonna be living there while construction is still going on. And obviously, they're gonna know construction is gonna be going on for a few years. They going into a construction site, they know that. So I'm not opposed to it. Steve, you have any other further comment?
I don't, no.
I think Patrick.
Were the issues on the previous projects, were those all storm water related?
Lot,
Yeah.
Like the vast majority, if not all?
a lot of them.
Yeah. So this sort of takes care of that.
Do you have any?
Would
other-
anyone want further conditions on the $50,000? I know that's above and beyond already. But when you're working on something this large, $50,000 can go very quickly.
Right, that's why I would like.
I understand there's a bond.
But we could condition it so that it has to be replenished.
Yeah, that's all.
That's almost kind of what I'm thinking.
Yep, that's fine.
We want to move on to
Oh, yes. I forgot about the
garages or
Yeah, the cookie cutter, so the garages, the idea from the prior board was basically that you wanted the former vice chair was looking to have more character in the neighborhood. And it was basically to say, hey, if all the garages are lined up, there's not as much character as, all in love. That was the philosophy.
So what we've done here is, because of the interior layout, it allows different shifts along the front. So some units have porches, some units don't, some have, the front door set back a little bit further. But generally speaking, the overall idea here is the interior actually sets a little bit more of the exterior. And that's what the architect works with. And by having these are different models, but they're also at different elevations. And we just use one color palette. Again, it's the end of the day with it.
Is there gonna be an equal distribution of these homes throughout the project? Meaning that you're not gonna have 80% of this home, and then the rest is gonna make up 20%?
So the way I can't, the way that we do.
That
Correct. So the way-
choose.
Correct. So what we do is we have restrictions on, no next door neighbor can have the same location and same color. Because we understand the concern that you guys have.
I got it.
And we don't want that look and feel either, but it is the buyer's choice. The idea here is we have a lot of different products to choose from. We'll,
So when you get down to a few lots left, then what?
it's still, they get to choose, but their choices are a little bit more restricted because of who's next door. And who's
color
already,
scheme.
and across the street.
And just a quick question, is the reason that all the garages are forward facing is because the lot size is
Yeah, these lots are
narrow?
narrow.
Okay.
there's not really an opportunity to put a full
Swing
driveway
around.
around the side and come in on the side.
Reminded me of South Carolina living, because my parents lived down there, so when I looked at the plans and saying, oh, that's why they're all forward facing.
Yeah.
So what you're proposing is not one of these styles would be next to each other or
Correct.
across the street.
Correct.
And the color patterns would be this,
Again, that's the choice of the buyer.
so you could have the color patterns be the same all down the street. Or is it,
No, it's not.
No, they can't be
They
right
can't be
next
the-
to each
they
other.
can't be
the
the
color pattern has to
Correct.
change next to each other
Yeah,
too?
yeah.
Correct, and that makes it, that, then with the different designs, I think that certainly helps.
And what was the restriction previously?
It was 50% of the homes needed to have the
Garage door.
garage. Front door in
Or
front,
not on the front.
front door in front of the garage.
They were
Mhm.
back,
Yeah.
there were setbacks.
There were setbacks basically,
Yeah.
so that was completely covered.
I mean,
Yeah, with the number of options and the restrictions that would be put in place and agreed to, sounds like you're not gonna have the same house next to each other with all those choices. And the color patterns wouldn't be the same next to each other or across the street. And that certainly makes it non-cookie cutter to me.
well, I'm okay with that. I don't know, do we want it written in anywhere? I know they're saying that.
Well,
That's part of their-
it would have to be
that-
part of the decision.
The decision that you have to have, whatever however you do the verbiage.
Well,
we
I
need-
could work with
Rachel,
Rachel,
yeah.
just to codify that in my mind.
Okay. And
Is
now
there anything
what,
left to present?
I was gonna ask if we wanted to go through stormwater or the lot modification.
We do have Beals and Thomas, Tom Micklack, here who reviewed this.
Yeah.
for the
why
stormwater.
don't, I was gonna say, why don't we do a peer review? Cause I know you guys have been going back and forth.
Can we pull up the letters? I certainly don't have it memorized.
I'm gonna be familiar with the stormwater then.
Yeah,
She's bringing up over there
Yeah.
right now.
the letter from July 15th.
So we have done, this is our second round. Our second iteration, so a lot of comments have been closed out or are now deferred to the board. Um, um, be frozen. Apologies. Yeah, I don't know, Tom, if you would have more success sharing.
Sure, I can share. You want me to share your
Thank
letter with
you.
the responses?
Yeah, I think that would be helpful.
Okay.
I'll stop.
I don't know if everybody can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that went quick.
Yeah. Way faster than my hotspot, so thank you.
You're welcome. So yeah, to Liz's point, this is our first supplemental peer review. So we have gone back and forth, and to that end, a lot of the comments have been addressed. So you'll see here, you can see comment resolved. I don't know if we need to go point by point necessarily, but there's a lot of items, or there's a handful of items too that Beals and Thomas, we made the initial comment, reviewing things against the current procedural rules and stormwater regulations, and regulations that weren't necessarily in effect at the time of the original approval. And Ty and Bond responded accordingly. So there are comments here where we basically deferred back to the board, basically saying making the comment just for the record that, okay, the current standard is this, though we acknowledge that the approval back in 2021 might not have been subject to the same regulation. There are a couple of items that were still hanging out there, and Ty and Bond, we appreciate that they responded and provided their rationale for these things. One of them was this right here with the TSS, knowing that the town has a regulation for 90% removal. We basically made the comment that it was only 85 based on the handbook and the stormwater spreadsheets, or the BMP spreadsheets. But yeah, certainly with the MS4 permit, and given that the town regulation is written through that lens, and the forthcoming stormwater handbook or management policy will also have these regulations. We basically agree with the utilization of these BMP accounting and tracking tools for the TSS. So I think this one right here, number 3, that's effectively addressed. There are a couple of other ones here, and just to go back, I mean, let me see here. Yeah, so these are ones that we deferred back to the board on, and Ty and Bond basically just providing their rationale. Yeah, I mean, the culvert sizing, like this is another instance where we made a comment on something that we weren't involved in the initial review, but we made the comment, without really acknowledging that these things weren't changing. So that was effectively Ty and Bond's response there.
Was that based upon the MS4 changes that went into place? Is that a lot of these, or is that?
Yeah, I mean, I
So
think
the new regulation is higher standard than was originally approved. Is that correct?
that's correct.
And we're changing the stormwater right now we're changing the stormwater methodology now. Is it, so why would we not enforce the new regulations?
We meet them. Well,
Meet them.
yes, so the new regulations from MS4, it's really focused on treatment, right? MS4 is focused on making sure that we're fixing a broken system. Stormwater was initially designed hundreds of years ago, 100 years ago or so, where we just thought about it as flooding, right? Get the water away. Now we're seeing in the 303D list, which is issued by DEP and tracks the quality of our waters, that stormwater is one of the leading pollutants in the state and the only one we're seeing growing. So the MS4 permit is stepping in and saying you now need to treat. So it's coming out with this 90% TSS removal calculation and then the 60% total phosphorus, and we do meet both of those. The differential that Tom was talking about before is that the 2008 stormwater handbook assigns pollutant removal just per stormwater control measure, meaning if you have an infiltration basin, you get 80% and that's it. The EPA has since released pollutant removal curves to support the MS4 and to support the communities that are implementing the bylaws to apply. And it acknowledges that if you have an infiltration basin that gets 0.2 inches of treatment, you're getting less pollutant removal than an infiltration basin that gets 2 to 3 inches of pollutant infiltration volume. So we applied the current curves that were issued by the EPA and then have also been acknowledged by DEP and will be in the Resilience 1.0 package, which is the updated stormwater handbook when it finally comes out. Per DEP's update, just last week, it should be by the end of the year, but it is an election year, so we will see. So I could talk about this for a long time. I'll stop there. So that was one thing that Tom had mentioned. So we do comply with that 90% TSS. We have a ton of infiltration. We have great soils on this site. So we at 90% TSS and the 60% phosphorus. The only place where we ask relief is that we did not change the storm depths that we were using to design the system. And that table, like, that's just off the page there, where you see the 8.74 and the 8.1. The town regulations defer back to what is called the Cornell method. And we used to think that was the best and the most available. Cornell method is really only based, I think, on about 80 years of data. NOAA is on, I think, over 100 years and also has federal funding to be continuously updated. So once every 10 years, we'll see an update to NOAA Atlas 14. It's now considered the standard that everyone's pointing back to. But the deltas and the storms are up on the screen, and you can see that in some, they're pretty minuscule. So we held the previous hydrology, but we are hitting the trees.
And even in the minuscule depths, NOAA's more.
Depends on the storm. You can see that 100-year on the Cornell is 8.74 and NOAA is less.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So we are detaining more in the 100-year. And like it's a 0.1 inch difference on the 2-year. So it's kind of inconsistently all over the place, I'd say. But we are detaining more on the 100 and around the same on the 2. And I think those are really two big driving factors, given that 90% of your storms in Massachusetts are 0.8 inches or less. And then the 100-year, that would be like a forward-facing storm where we're now actually above and beyond the average depth NOAA is claiming, and we're more into that, I would say, climate change ready scenario.
Tom, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's quite all right, and I appreciate the background there, Liz, in context. But that was certainly one of the other comments that we made there as far as the storm depths. I think the one regarding the culverts, we didn't see like rational calculations for those, and my disclaimer here is we haven't dove into the most recent set of resubmission docs Ty and Bond sent over. We've exhausted our supplemental peer review, so at least to wrap things up, we'll be looking for additional services. But once we get into that, we'll just be able to vet out like all these other items. But to that end, this is one here where we asked for the rational calcs, and I think that Ty and Bond's response was that like nothing had changed from the previous approval. So additional calcs weren't warranted. So I don't know that they were included, but once again, that's something that we can sort out. Rational flows. Yeah, and this is, and there's a comment here, the HydroCAD, utilizing HydroCAD for the rational calcs. That's just something that we were more accustomed to seeing, like a very simplified calculation for the rational calcs. HydroCAD, and Liz, we can talk offline about some of this stuff, but partly some of my questions from the last set of calcs that we reviewed was that like there are some subcatchments that aren't generating any runoff in the HydroCAD rational calculation, understanding it's like pervious areas that are potentially directed to like culverts or those area drains, whatever it is. But like, I guess I was just trying to reconcile that with, like what we're generally accustomed to seeing, which is that instantaneous rate of runoff, which understandably can be conservative, but it is the industry standard for a lot of these things, especially storm sewers in the roadway, where it's all pavement. So, and I know that just given a cursory look at the info that you guys resubmitted, there is an updated calculation in there, or you guys provided the additional info that I requested. I can't remember if it was the HydroCAD summaries. So yeah, that's something we can certainly take a closer look at and coordinate on. But yeah, that's just one of the things. It's just, you know, as you well know, like HydroCAD generates the a hydrograph. I know that you guys are only running a storm for like a 3-hour storm, so it's not necessarily a 24-hour storm. It just seemed like the T sub C was kind of flattening these peak rates a little bit more than we would have expected to see. And that was really the, you know, the spirit of our comment, is that utilizing HydroCAD might be softening these peak rates. But once again, I haven't delved into the resubmission docs to really know one way or another. So that's another one I think it's worth discussing. But like, I think a lot of these other ones, you know, and this is our letter, but apologies to switch back and forth. I don't want to confuse everybody, but back to the tie and bond letter. I mean, this is a response to that hydraulic discussion that I just talked about. You know, it looks like this was another comment that we had about the basin grading, understanding there was a waiver previously granted, but at this specific basin, we felt it was worthwhile to at least make the comment, just given, you know, the application of those slopes. And it, you know, it appears that tie and bonds address that, and we can check that out as we get into the second supplemental review. You know, this is another one that we deferred to the board on. Can't remember the exact comment, but
Well, the fence might be worth just kind of updating you guys on. So we had submitted a waiver to do a split rail fence around the basins. Heard the feedback that you guys weren't comfortable with that and didn't think it would meet the safety requirements that the regulation is trying to put in. So we are still requesting a waiver, but it's just because we're not doing chain link. We're gonna do like a solid slat fence, just because it's a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. And we do have the required 6-inch gap at the bottom because the Conservation Commission does want to allow critters to be able to go back. So I think we're much more on the same track where this will provide that safety requirement that the board was looking for.
You have pictures of the,
I do, it's in the plan set, but I need it. I can get.
you need to.
Yeah. Towards the back on the detail sheets, but like,
You know what number?
I'm gonna get.
Okay.
E18. And it's
What page was that?
D18. Gigas.
This set doesn't, he's done. On this set, it's not in.
D6.
Yeah.
This is
Right there.
sorry.
Yeah, there you go. So,
So is that aluminum or is that
yeah,
vinyl stockade?
It's aluminum.
it's aluminum.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, we just want it prettier.
I like that.
Yeah, I think it's an upgrade from chain link, so.
What's the gap in between the rails?
I don't think it's.
Mhm.
Right.
I don't know that it indicates.
No, we don't have, and get a model type, I guess, to see what the,
We can follow up with the manufacturer and.
yeah.
Bring in an actual piece.
Oh,
panel
yeah.
on wheels. Turn it around. Okay, now.
Okay.
Any discussions on the fence? Anyone have any?
Has that been
questions?
submitted?
Yeah, I mean, the only concern is you don't want a child going in there, I imagine.
Right. Well, the 6 inches under the bottom
It's a
is,
requirement.
you're
anyway.
right, but if you look at that drawing in the scale, if that's 6 inches at the bottom, it's less than 6 inches between the,
Yeah, it could not.
in the
Yeah.
slats.
Yeah, if we get the manufacturer, give us the detail.
Yeah,
But yeah, that was included in the plan set. That was.
It's
not in this package.
That was the one where you had issues with the printing at your office. So looks like this ends at D6.
Oh, oh, no, well, so for
It's
some
one-
reason, D6 is at,
E1B, I think is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
oh,
Okay.
E1B.
yeah, there might be like a little.
Oh, 1B. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear that.
No, I said the wrong thing.
Okay.
E1B.
D1B,
E
thank you.
1B.
I have a 1A. And then I have a D2, so. There it is.
Oh, it's right before D2. You missing it?
Yep, I'm missing. Okay, it's not in your packet.
I have a D1A.
There's two, yeah, there's two of them, maybe.
College,
Yeah.
we had with the time with our plotters and printers that day.
Always when you were in.
I was just thankful I had 3 different offices to try.
Yes.
Yeah, that's 6. So that's less than.
If that ties out,
Yeah,
if it ties out.
Well, drawings are always scaled.
They are, right?
Okay.
Not the seal.
That was good.
there any? Anything else?
I'm fine.
Do you guys have anything else to present?
I think we've done enough.
I just want to know about the response to the abutter,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there were.
the abutter's concern, and what was the response to it?
Yeah, maybe I'll steal the screen top of this.
You want to feel the screen, Liz?
Yeah, that'd be helpful, thank you. So. The abutter. Okay, so the abutter in question was right here. We had redesigned the basin in this area. And we had the emergency overflow right here. And that was our bad. And the comment was, can you move that? So we moved it up here. And then Beals and Thomas said, maybe you should put a swale there too, to make sure it actually goes to the well. So we did that as well. And this stream does flow page north. So, yeah, it was a good enhancement. I'm glad that they caught it. So, yeah.
And have we talked to Michael Tobin about this?
You see it on the response materials. I don't know if he downloaded it or took a look.
So you had submitted. The waiver, but you're gonna have to rewrite that now with the aluminum because you still have chain link on that.
I'll rewrite it.
Do we want to review all the waiver items in there?
Okay.
Or does anyone have any other questions for Tom, I should say, at this point? Now, I know we
I
need
do
a
not.
secondary peer review on the response, But Tom, you had said you've exhausted funds.
Yes, yeah, we basically had the proposal through like basically this meeting and the first supplemental peer review. Oh, yes, so yeah, we would, just given what's remaining, yeah, would need something to, be able to just go through and provide a clean letter, so to speak.
How do we go about that?
Well, yeah, I did speak to Tom and, just asked him to prepare an estimate, an updated
Okay.
estimate for this last, review. So if you could submit that, and then, I'm sure they will fund, if there's not enough funds within the 53G account, let me know.
Thank you.
Sure. Provide that.
Okay. I have the waivers up. So the first one we had talked about, with the current regulations in Bellingham require granite curb inlets. So that's a piece of granite with a hole behind it that drains into a catch basin. The Resilience 1.0 package that will update the state stormwater standards no longer recognize total suspended solids removals from catch basins with curb inlets. So we're proactively asking for this waiver so that the town can remain in compliance with future regulations.
Doesn't seem unreasonable.
I think I gave the citations whatnot on where it, yeah, where it is in the handbook, if it wanted to be checked on the draft handbook. Okay, so. Hope I have, this has been updated to request the aluminum fence around the basins to provide the same safety function and more aesthetic features. So that's the waiver to the 6-foot chain link fence. So just again, trying to swap materials for aesthetics. And that's it.
Questions and concerns, anyone?
I just
I
want to
have
make sure
none.
that the fence, that the child cannot get through.
With the 6-inch gap, I measured my 12-year-old's head and she could definitely fit through, if she wanted to and turned her head sideways. I went down I did a lot of research into this to see when and where and how often drownings actually occur in infiltration basins after meeting with you, because it was something that just wasn't, I haven't read through a lot, and the American Society of Civil Engineers did issue a manual and a report back in 2014 on when and how this happens. A lot of it happens in Florida. Where it is, it's a lot of times where you have squishy sides, so a lot of sediments, or overly steep sides. So we are adhering to the safety standards that are prescribed in that manual, because they are baked into the 2008 stormwater handbook. So,
I actually meant a child can get through, not cannot.
oh, yeah,
Because, yeah, I mean, you just don't want the kid's head to get stuck.
I know, but yeah, with conservation wants it as well, so. For turtles and frogs and whatnot.
Yeah, I've already had bunnies get stuck in a chain link fence and it's not fun, so,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, okay. So our waivers, is there anything else we should be reviewing?
Any other discussions?
I have no other questions or comments.
Okay, so I guess we wait for the next year review, make sure everything's clean, get the appropriate verbiage added on terms of the phasing, but the colors and scheming and that, and then just the amount of monies. If run that through town council to see that. And
Yeah. It's not a difficult thing. It's not
Right.
like it's, you know.
yeah, no,
very-
I
You know. So.
it's always good to have.
As long as, once it's written, if it's written in the condition, what happens is they submit that check as part of the condition.
Okay.
Again, in my previous communities, I provide the check when I'm depositing it, as well as a copy of the decision highlighting that condition. And the condition also states what that money can be used for. And so that way that is on file with the accountant, treasurer collector's office. So they know when I'm, submitting a check or DPW is asking for money out of this account, they know that it's, okay, great, double check that. It's for what the condition stipulates. Great, awesome. It's not for paper or something completely not,
Okay,
No,
And then there'll be verbiage that states that that will have to be replenished if it's used.
Yeah, I'll update that condition so that it's reflects that.
excellent.
is there anything else that you want them to submit in order to alleviate any concerns or more, answer questions about anything that they're asking for here? Any of the modifications that they're asking?
I had in my notes, the same color and a condition on the unit. Look and
Yes,
feel, next door to each other across the street, so I'll write a condition for that as well.
yes.
The fencing manufacturer cut sheet.
Yeah.
Uh,
That sheet and just the peer review.
Okay,
And I think
so then
did we mention the phasing? Just making, I think,
the coloring,
no, I think it was, Phil, there was a concern.
checking with the building commissioner
Yes.
on phasing. Yes, I can check with him.
Yeah, and there's also, for the future, there's also some phasing conversation about contributions to the schools and when they happen, so we'd have to make sure we're aligned on anything that.
Which, within your decision?
Yeah.
Okay. Are those any things that you are looking to change as well on
I
that?
believe that they were,
They were based on phasing and
Okay.
things like that, so we just gotta make sure.
Or maybe take a
they're
look
aligned
at
I'll take a
with
look at
the
that.
And
conversation.
see if you need to update those conditions as well.
Based on the number of units.
And phasings, the
Yeah.
phasings were called
Yeah.
out specifically in 8. Remember those? Number 8. And 7 and
But you had that.
there's a lot of work done on this.
I remember it. I didn't listen into all the meetings, but I listened to a lot.
But other than that, for me, I appreciate all of the considerations that you put in for the people who live there, and for the town. Thank you so much.
thank you.
When do we want to continue this till and? We don't have a deadline on this, do we? It has to be moved.
No, they've been continuing, everything out. So we've been pretty good, about that. Your next, I would say not the September meeting, because that's when Pearl Street will be on there. August is your next meeting, August 13th.
Yeah, that's what I.
Would peer review be able to get back that quickly though?
Tom,
If it was funded and
Yeah, I think so, just given what remains. I mean, we're basically getting there. A lot of the things have been addressed, and, I think this last round where Ty and Bond explained, provided some clarification on some of the items that hopefully, it shouldn't be too much of a task to get that taken care of.
I've also used I think I used it in maybe one of your last decisions, here, is that if there are any outstanding items on this last peer review, I will note that. Create a condition within that, say, they can't have building permit until all of these items are completed for that.
okay,
So that it's on them to get that fixed.
does the fire department need to look at any of the road changes? That, I didn't think, or they have already,
They've already looked at it.
They've already-
But I will double check, because I've only been here 11 weeks, and I would have
Okay.
assumed the project has been going on for a while, that they would have looked at it, but
well, they probably
I
looked
will
at,
double check.
they probably looked at the original, but modifications, so I wouldn't, maybe we need to just thank you. Thank you for double checking.
I will send it out to every. And then they can contact you directly.
That's fair.
so we're gonna continue the August which one, meeting, the second one,
13th,
August 13th.
13th.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we only have one,
we only
right?
have the one, yeah.
That's right, that's our vacation.
Yeah, after a busy month, busy summer.
I'd like a motion to continue the public hearing of Red Mill subdivision to August 13th meeting at 7 PM in the Arkham meeting room. Can I have a second?
I'll second that.
We'll vote. Levi.
Patrick, aye.
Go ahead. Marty, aye.
Jasmine,
Motion passes.
Thank you very much for your time, Jimmy.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you for
Thank you.
doing this. You know, great. Um. I'd like a motion to open the continued public hearing at 316 Hartford Ave. So, second. Steve. Steve. Roll call.
Patrick, guy.
Bill,
Marty, aye. Oh, pretty pictures today.
Good evening. Scott Ambler, I represent the applicant, H&B Realty Management LLC. On the special permit for 316 Hartford Avenue. Just to kind of do a brief overview. The application has been republished and renoticed since the board changed from an original hearing. There have been some updated plans that have been submitted. The original plan, the size of the building has not changed. However, the original plan showed 13 potential subcontractor bays. It's been reduced to 11. So we've done that. The first Beals and Thomas review was submitted to us on May 20th. And our response to that first review was submitted June 17th. Beals and Thomas submitted its second review on July 9th. And we submitted our response to that on July 14th. There was also a tech review held via Zoom with town planner Rachel Benson, fire chief, and the building inspector, along with the engineers, Mr. Below, the project construction manager that would take care of the project. And there were no comments really from the building inspector. The fire chief had several items of concern and that he wanted to talk about and address. The swept path plan that was provided, he thought it was deficient in a couple of areas where if you look at the plan, there is a parking area between the existing building and the proposed new building. And he noted that on the plan, the truck would have been getting into some of the parking spaces. And then in the rear of the proposed construction area, there was a kind of a roundabout at the end. And he didn't really like the way it was drawn out. Those have both been changed, according to his comments and requests. There was the request that a hydrant be added onto the northern side of the building, so kind of on the pathway area behind the proposed building, which was done.
Turn off your volume too.
And he had certain questions. He wanted the entrance to show the swept path going in and out from both sides. So that was amended by our engineers. And then he had some general questions about the sprinkler systems and the NOx controls, which we have put together to meet his requirements. And we're going to have one master box for the NOx controls, and then which he indicated he actually preferred, rather than having one in each separate unit. Other than that, his general view of it, as stated in our meeting, was that, he thought it was a good plan, assuming all of those changes were made. which they have been, and we're waiting now just on Beals and Thomas's response to our July 14th response. So we're still kind of in the middle of that.
So does C10 represent the fire chief's updates? That's still, no.
No, the C 1.0. No, this is an updated plan as of the peer review. So this was dated July 14th. So the meeting with the fire chief was on the 16th. So we have an updated plan, but before finalizing it and presenting it, we were waiting on the response from Beals and Thomas. Beals and Thomas?
Beals and Thomas.
Though the plan that you do have addressed a number of the issues that Beals and Thomas obviously raised, wanting to see a broader picture of the abutting properties and what the board had, brought up in the first meeting. You'll see that the abutting properties, that the parking area in between the existing building and the proposed building doesn't really, there was a concern from someone in the audience that it was looking into the school area, and you'll see that that's actually not the case. That looks into an existing DPW site area where they do some work, and on the other sides of the DPW area, it's just wooded area. So there's no concern about people parking and staring or looking in on the school and the children. The existing ball field, which I don't even know if it really is in use anymore for Stallbrook, is at the very top of the plan. So you'll see the wooded area, the existing gravel area, the wooded area, the existing gravel area. It's beyond that. So the baseball field is at the very northwestern edge of the building. You were concerned, I believe, at one point in time of where the town well area is, which is, if you look at the very first page of the plan, it shows that is at the very western edge
He has
of the
a-
property.
he has a-
Oh, okay, it's up. So it's the circular areas, that 400-foot radius around wells. So that is nowhere near where we're proposing anything. Or the gas easement that's at the rear of the property as well. We're not coming anywhere near that. And there obviously is going to be, despite the fact that there's, that parking area doesn't look into the school area, there is a fence proposed along the back of the property. And then we do have renderings of the building, different views, back walkway view. There would be a walkway behind the building. That's up on the board there, the back corner. And then there's also a street view. And front view of the building. And one of the issues or questions at the very first meeting was regarding signage. There's an existing sign at the property. And which is, if you look at the screen now, the left-hand picture is how it is today. And what we would propose is just putting a pedestal style sign that just references the building. And there would be no tenant or no references to any of the tenants of the building. The signage for any tenant would be, as you can see on the other renderings, would be only contained on the building, the front of the building itself. So it would be a rather small sign in general. It wouldn't contain any references to tenants. It's just the name of the kind of the proposal and the park and the address. I think that more or less covers most of the comments from the very first hearing. As well as from the technical meeting that was held with the fire chief and building inspector.
Well, there were some concerns brought up about traffic. Going in and out and doing a traffic analysis.
So I understand the concerns, obviously. I guess my position on that, or my opinion on that, I should say, is that 126 is already a busy street. The traffic that is on that street is there and it's not going anywhere. It's also a roadway that is and has been already heavily analyzed over the years. We have, you have before you the project at the intersection of North Main Street, which has had a traffic study done. The state has the proposed redevelopment of, that section of Hartford Avenue and the bridge. The traffic has been analyzed at the intersection of the Market Basket Plaza and the Charles River Plaza with the Whole Foods and the theater. You've recently had a decision and a proposal a little further down on Hartford Avenue. I believe it's 455. Similar type of construction or proposal that was approved, smaller than ours, obviously, yes, but there was no traffic study requested or required on that, to my understanding.
That's the storage units that you're talking about?
Down past, I don't know what it was being used for, past Rosewood?
Near Cumberland Farms,
Yeah, between Rosewood and Cumberland Farms,
on the right hand side.
With the
about
small
a 75
car
to
wash
80.
right in front of it? Or is it further down?
455, you said?
I think it's 455.
Oh, way down there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, after Rosewood, before Cumberland Farms.
Okay. There's another
I think
one.
it's a-
There's another one in between us.
There's another one, there's the gas station with and that's another one that's been heavily, obviously studied. When the gas station was put in, when storage was put in, when the car wash was put in, all of that was, the traffic was analyzed there. So,
I guess the
I
question is, does this trip the
and
requirement?
I would say no. What you have is the lowest, I would state that this proposal is the absolute lowest impact development that you could have. This is not retail at all. It's not commercial at all. You're not going to have people off the street, coming onto the property to visit these businesses. These are going to be at most 11 separate units. And we're actually hoping that it's less than that, what we get our tenants that may want one or two or three, maybe even one person that, one entity that takes the whole thing. But it's not going to be something that's traffic generating.
You don't have tenants already?
Excuse me?
You don't have tenants?
No.
Interested tenants?
No, not yet.
You're not sure who's gonna come rent?
No, it's just gonna be, like I said, contractor style bays, maybe plumbers, HVAC, that type of person that, generally would be looking for.
But you really could be open to anyone.
Somewhat, probably a major architects, there's restrictions for occupancy, parking.
Yeah.
Type of structure.
What are the
Um,
restrictions too?
So there's restrictions on parking. So let's just say, if you just say open to anyone, if you wanted to throw like a kid's trampoline park or something like that in there, that's gonna warrant a
That's
lot
an
bigger
extreme,
of an occupancy or parking that this wouldn't be able to fit.
The
It's not
bylaws,
designed to set up for that.
the bylaws for a retail or a commercial style use, the bylaws would require significantly more parking than what we can provide. So we wouldn't be able to comply with those bylaws. Yeah.
What kind of businesses could you have there?
There are none there. There's no building there yet.
Well, what kind of tenants could you have?
Could we?
Uh-huh.
As I said, maybe a plumber, a HVAC contractor,
garage doors.
Fire
Yeah.
protection,
Can I ask you this then, you know, if with 11 units, you've got 6.5 spaces per unit. So if you have an HVAC company, how do you guys look at, I mean, because essentially, you know, you only have so many parking spaces. Are you gonna say to an HVAC company, you've got 6 spaces? Or if they have 10 trucks, do you then limit, you know, another potential?
No, we would be, my understanding from the way this would be proposed would be, you know, you have a certain number, as you said, for each potential use.
Yeah.
Now, again, we don't know if it's gonna be 11 different uses or if it's going to be, let's say, 4 entities that, you know, take out a certain number of them. There are available parking spaces. It will be divided up if there's, I don't have the numbers right off my head, but just for math purposes, if there's 20 parking spaces and there's 4 tenants, it would be each tenant would get 5.
you get a parking space based, you get parking spaces based on your square footage that
Yeah.
applied a little bit more to that. And by nature, we're gonna have to put oil water separators and drains inside, so the parking inside could be potential, depending on how much storage they need. And those type of uses, honestly, a lot of them take the trucks home and stuff. We're not seeing as much of a parking demand per se for that type of use. Of course, other uses,
There won't be ever a time where it's overflow with parking.
it's not set up that way. There's no loading dock. It's not set up
Yeah.
to be like a shipping hub. It's really not even.
You're not gonna have 18 wheelers coming in to drop off product or.
I'm not saying 18 wheelers, but if you've got a bunch of, you know, whether it's plumbers, electricians, and by the time you fill it all up, you know, you find yourself with, you know, 84 vehicles rather than 72. We'll never get into that position.
No, they won't be allowed.
I think if you had a fleet of that many vehicles that gonna warrant that much storage too, they're probably gonna take more bays by nature, which would give them the more parking.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's not a super deep build. I mean, these bays are small enough by Mass State Plumbing Code to get 1 bathroom per bay, so they're not big. It's not a 100-foot deep building, which you're typically used to seeing if you tried to do something like this.
And in any lease, obviously, the number, it's gonna be specified, the number of parking spaces that the tenant will have access to. So if someone wants to have, if you get a plumber that comes in and has, you know, 12 trucks or 12 employees with trucks, and they only rent, you know, 2 of the bays or take 2 of the units, they're not gonna be able to, you know,
Okay.
have that many. It'll be right in the lease that they can't.
Okay. And
Hopefully
is
they'll
there
be-
any baseline restrictions as far as, you know, use of hazardous material, high water consumption, a body shop, things of that nature that, may be problematic?
That hasn't been discussed.
Right, yeah, from a fire standpoint, I think they were really concerned about real high hazard. Like high manufacturing, high hazard, like maybe even manufacturing of boats or something like that, because of the fiberglass aspect. Just probably because we wouldn't get the water service we need and a fire pump room and stuff like that. This again is, I do a lot of distribution centers, so I am used to stuff like that. This is not even set up for that. It doesn't warrant anything like that. This is strictly, I would say, low hazard. Maybe it touches a medium hazard depending on the use that comes in, but all could be handled through fire
But
suppression.
there is no restriction on that. You don't have that built in.
Well, there's a building code's gonna restrict that, water service is gonna restrict that, so, you know, without a fire pump room and a 6-inch line, you're only getting to middle hazard regardless.
And that was one of the comments from the fire chief, was to make sure that the sprinkler system as designed was adequate for whatever type of build out of the building there was.
Correct.
For the
If
most
I'm correct,
intense use,
that
that
was a
could be,
comment.
yeah,
Correct.
that's what the building commissioner said, for the
Yeah.
most intense use, that
Yes.
could be there. And the building, this isn't, it's just they get approved and then that's it, they can do whatever. There's the building commissioner, when they come in, do a building permit, he has to sign that. Also, when they get CO and then a tenant comes in, a lot of times he's looking at that and making sure that it matches, you know, what the zone and the special permit allow too.
And I can't speak for this ownership, but most of the time it's a shell project, right? And then as tenants come along, then you start dividing, so then there's plans that get submitted to put up the demising wall and something, then it's like.
So the building inspector
Another
is
bite
gonna
at
be
the apple, I
heavily
guess, of
involved
that.
in, you know, the fitting up of the space, the interior space.
As well as fire.
Absolutely. Yep. So, as I said, we've met all of the fire chief's concerns. And other than the ones he raised, he was, thought it was a favorable project. And again, just to get back onto traffic, the reality, as I've stated, is Hartford Ave is Hartford Ave, and it's traffic you see is what's there. There's not really anything that could be done at this location to mitigate anything. You have the intersection of Maple Street and Hartford Ave, which is a short distance away. Not right there, but close enough. So you're not gonna have another light or anything of that nature that really can be done there. And all of the other surrounding businesses and buildup that's already occurred and has existed for quite some time is there and is not really changing. So, I know I've done a little bit of looking in. I saw, the traffic study that was done for the North Main and Hartford Ave interchange there and what's being proposed there. And I saw that when their conclusion is that it's going to result in 17 new trips, during a weekday morning during the peak hours. If that development there is only going to generate 17 new trips during weekday morning peak hours, then ours is not going to generate hardly anything during the peak hours. We're talking about, focusing on potential like contractors. They'll be going into work well before the peak hours and getting back out on the road, and then probably coming back in at the end of the day. And if there's 11 uses, then that's at most what you're looking at is, 11 to, trips in the morning and in the afternoon. These are not ones where you're gonna be coming back and forth. It'll be multiple trips daily, typically.
I think you just hit it. It's the fleet trucks that be the concerning portion of this, where you've got multiple trips during multiple hours during the day. If it's one contractor that's got three guys working for him, leaving at the beginning of the day, coming back, that's one thing. But if you've got multiple trips during the, every other hour, somebody coming and going in a fleet truck, then that's a different ballgame. It's the intention not to have the fleet truck is what.
I don't think we have enough parking to warrant something like that. I don't think we have enough space within this site to say, hey, yeah, I've worked with plenty of developments where it's a big enough site, we have extra parking, which is great. You have more parking than your bylaws state
Yeah,
that we need.
but parking
You don't
for
have
employees is good.
You don't have that extra situation here though, where you can say to someone, oh, you're only taking, 1,600 square feet, but we're gonna give you 20 parking spots for your fleet of trucks to just come in and out. You're not, that situation wouldn't really be set up here, if that makes sense.
I want 6 bays and 6 times 6 is how many trucks and. how
Yeah,
many
no, I
trucks
can-
coming in and out.
I totally.
I guess if that's not your intention, then maybe we could work on some language. That,
Well, I look at some of the different developments around town and I've lived here my whole life, so, I've seen how they've developed and grown.
yeah,
You have, let's say, T&J Heating, which is much bigger than what this is being proposed as. Their fleet of vans would exceed the number of parking spaces we have here. And you have the employees' cars that come in. I go back and forth in front of that and buy that property at least 6 times a day. I don't ever see there being any significant impact on the traffic that occurs in that area of town. And you have across the street another plumbing contractor building that just is in the process of rebuilding their property, and it's got a significant, and I don't see traffic caused by either one of those uses. By the time I go by in the morning, most of the vans are gone. And, they get back in the afternoon, sometimes very late. Do they sometimes come back and forth? I'm sure they do. But it's over the course of the entire day. And I guess my only point is, if if what is being proposed or the conclusion is that development at the corner of North Main and Hartford is gonna generate 17 new trips in the morning peak hours and it says 54 new trips during the afternoon peak hours. I don't see that our proposal coming anywhere near that.
I'll say this, I mean, given the use, it doesn't sound like it's gonna be a high traffic, but the issue, as you know, is when you have a street that's as busy as that, everything you add to it makes it that much worse.
Understood.
So I'm not saying that this is, you know, a good use for it. But when you look at it, you know, as a singular project, not so bad. When you look at all the ones that have come in, you know, over the years, it just makes a bad road even worse, that's all.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I understand that, but again, I think this is the lowest impact use that could be on this
I
property.
don't disagree with you,
So
with that.
in 2009, the prior owner had a plan and approved and for I believe it was a hockey rink.
Yeah, like an indoor
Yeah.
synthetic hockey.
Can you imagine? And it was approved. If that would be a nightmare.
But I also think that, you know, 2009 was a very different time. It's now 2026 and technology has changed. So while you're thinking HVAC and plumbing, I mean, I've had so many different salespeople come to my door. And you may not be thinking that a contractor may come and rent a place and hire a whole bunch of young people that are gonna now, you know, go out there and go knock on doors, and then they come back to their spot and come pick up more brochures and more things, and then come and drive back and forth. There's so many different things where people will come and try to rent space from you. You don't know what kind of tenants you're going to get, and you're building a place that you really don't know who's going to come and come rent this place. And so when we're considering these types of things and considering a space that's going to be on Hartford Ave, we kind of need to think about what will that traffic entail? How is this going to affect the people of Bellingham? So that's just kind of where these kinds of questions are coming from, because yeah, we can think of HVAC or plumbing, but that's just one aspect of the type of tenant that you may get. There are all kinds of things that are being developed today that may get you a different tenant tomorrow, once it's all built. And are you really gonna say no when you get that tenant?
Well, it's
I don't
going to
know
be-
if I would, you
It's
know,
gonna be
especially if they
dictated by
fit.
what the availability is. I mean,
Right.
you know, like I said, we only have certain limited parking. So, and you know, we cannot exceed that. We can't, you know, rent to someone that's going to have, you know, 40 employees. Even if it's just a minimal use type of thing where they're, you know, they're not, you know, let's say they rent half the building. I mean, it cannot accommodate that as it's designed. So I understand that we have no idea who might come in, but we do know that it can't be certain uses because it just doesn't meet the bylaws of the town, and they wouldn't get occupancy permits, and they wouldn't get approvals because it cannot be a retail entity.
I wouldn't be able to
This is
code one.
industrial though, right? This
Industrial.
block's
Yeah.
industrial, so
Yeah.
that kind of opens it up to more usage than if it was in another zone.
From a zoning
From a
standpoint,
zoning point.
from a
of view.
building code standpoint, I still have to
Still get a-
I still have to stamp something.
Yeah,
I
still
feel
get a-
comfortable that those people could be in there.
Yep,
Yeah.
but it opens it up a little bit as far as the uses are concerned.
I get it.
And that's you know, in the fleet trucks is a concern of mine. And there are a lot of parking spots, you know, one coming, you know, leaving at the beginning of the day, coming back at the end of the day, that's one thing. If it turns into, you know, every other hour, the whole, you know, people coming in and out, that's a whole nother entity.
Keep in mind.
And where it's industrial, you could, you know, there would be an argument to say, hey, it's zoned that way.
I get it.
So that's what I'd be concerned about.
it is owner occupied too. This isn't somebody just with
Yeah.
a piece of property somewhere that's, it's
Today.
been that way for quite some time, so
Yeah,
I get it.
today, so.
I also want to remind the board that we do have Beals and Thomas, Matt Cody.
I was just gonna say, Matt, have you had a chance to look at,
Let me stop sharing.
Yes,
the submission from July 14?
Yeah, I guess so. For the record, Matt Cody, Bills and Thomas. No, we have not. We only received that last week. And as discussed with Rachel, similar to the previous project, our budget had only carried us to a supplemental review, and this would be a second supplemental review. I was able to this afternoon just kind of breeze through it quickly in preparation for tonight. There were a handful of items that were outstanding. Some of them, it seems like they've been addressed in some part, some technical and some administrative. But we haven't delved into it in any great detail yet.
Can you prepare an estimate for the second supplemental and provide it to?
Absolutely.
Okay. And obviously we'll pass that on, once it's in, because there are some open items and I know some of it you haven't done on plans yet because you haven't finished.
Yeah, we were waiting.
Right, exactly. So, I think we need that. Is there anyone here, in the audience that has any questions? Sir, if you could stand,
Sure.
name, address.
Yeah, my name is Doug Kelly and we live at 319 Hartford Ave. So the first thing I wonder as far as the type of businesses, I don't understand them saying there's plumbers and HVAC potential tenants and they do commercial work, but it has nothing to do with commercial. He said it's not commercial. It's not gonna be retail. It's not gonna be commercial.
Can't be
Plumber
read.
does commercial work. Yes,
So
no?
it can't be retail, it can't be a dentist office. It's zoned industrials by the bylaws. So
Okay.
there's only certain type of businesses that can go there. And now they're also very limited by the businesses, by the number of vehicles that are going to be allowed to be parked there per tenant. So it's going to limit the type of businesses that could go there. Yes, a plumber is a commercial entity, but they're not doing the plumbing on site. That's their office and their storefront,
Okay,
so that they,
so what are the hours of operation?
That hasn't really been discussed yet at length.
I brought it up in a previous meeting that plumbers start at 6 in the morning on site, and they may be in Boston. So they'll be there at 4 or 4:30 in the morning picking up stock. And they may work till 10 o'clock at night. Job sites don't just stop because it's 4 or 5 o'clock. So are there gonna be regulations on hours of operation, or is it 24/7, 365?
No, that wouldn't have been expected. I believe we were going to explore reasonable hours of operation. I don't believe it would be anything like allowing something to start at 4. The actual hours I haven't really discussed at length with my client, but it's not gonna be 24/7. It's not gonna be something that starts that early, or goes that late. There is a noise bylaw in town. There are
Why
ways
don't you,
to,
maybe next time you come in, you can make a
Have a
proposal of
certainly,
business hours. On
absolutely.
the site. That's a great,
That, it was expected.
it's expected.
We knew we weren't,
We didn't get there.
we weren't there
Good
yet.
point,
We
sir.
knew there were
We
things that this was just more of an informational meeting.
Usually in most of, it's
Yeah.
usually in most of the conditions that we do at the
I
end.
think
so.
our biggest concern is living right
can you
across.
stand up and your name and address, please?
My name is Barbara Kelly and I live at 319 Hartford Ave. I think our big concern first was the signage, but that seems to be taken care of. The second thing is, how do we know what type of businesses are going in there? And if they are contractors, Are they gonna be starting at 6 in the morning, picking up supplies at noontime, coming back at 6 o'clock at night, coming back at 8 o'clock at night? And as far as the traffic, I disagree with he's saying with the traffic. We've got Amazon trucks coming down there, we have UPS trucks coming down there, they're stopping in front of the houses. The other day, I was out mowing the lawn, they had a construction vehicle with a tractor trailer on it going into that business. And he hit the telephone pole because it's not wide enough for the vehicle to get in there.
And they had to back up and stop all the
And
traffic
then
on
all the
Hartford
traffic
Avenue.
was all backed up on Hartford Avenue. So I mean, I do think there is a concern with the traffic. I mean, we can't control Hartford Avenue. We've been there for 25 years. We know what the traffic is like. But I think this is gonna add additional traffic to the street. And as you can see now with the business, when people are coming out, people coming in, they can't get in and out at the same time. So with construction vehicles going in there, vans, pickup trucks, who knows what size trucks, who knows what type of business.
And you don't know either.
So that's what our concern is.
Okay, thank you.
How many parking spaces allotted to the existing business? Or is it not? No number on that.
The existing, um. I think there's 12.
Well, sometimes there's 20 cars in there currently. On any given day. And they started like, I saw cars going in at 6:15 this morning. I mean, it's great they're doing a great job, you know, doing a good business with the workout and all of that. There's already 20 cars and you only have allotted 12 spaces. To say nothing about the other 11 tenants.
If you can pull up C 4.0. I believe, unfortunately, the plan I have is rather small, so I can't see it. It has a detail of the parking as well as the, you know, an idea of how the parking would be utilized like Monday through Friday, Saturday, Sunday type of thing as well. But as I stated, you know, tractor trailers really wouldn't be a concern. We don't, this building won't even have loading docks to accommodate a tractor trailer.
That means nothing. My son drives truck for a living and he has a tailgate, has a lift gate. They do drops at small businesses everywhere. So that's not a legit item. Sorry.
I would say, given the site constraint, it would be tough.
Eh,
I operate machines and have trucks myself. I do snow plowing. So that even came up about like snow storage. Is it someone who plows needs to have input on that? But I do think this site is definitely tougher for that type of use, but I get what you're saying.
So there would have to be a restriction on trucks not going in.
And in terms of the existing way, that's obviously going to be improved as part of the, you know, overall development. You know, once, if this gets approved, the entranceway will be improved.
Is,
Snow storage was another item that the fire chief did mention, now that, Paul mentioned that. So the new plan, the revised plan has, notations as to where that will go.
the existing condition on the part that you're gonna be building out, is that cleared at this point?
Yes, it's relatively flat, it's cleared. There's also, I believe you have the stormwater report and analysis.
Question whether we wanna do a site tour. If it's already cleared, maybe that's worth doing.
I've already gone down to it and driven
You got
through it.
in there?
Yeah,
Was thinking.
yeah, and I went down to the right away going back out towards the elementary school. I went down and through it.
Bill, I was thinking the same thing.
And going in and out, I didn't have any issues and I was there at 5 o'clock, cause I did it after coming home from work. So, I was able to get in and out onto Hartford Ave, coming from 495 and then going back the same direction. So it was a peak volume, but
Um. I'm still not with the school next to it, I guess you mentioned that there was a fence that you guys were putting in. Do you have a rendering of that fence and what it looks like?
I don't believe
I
it.
think I see it, there's a long on the drawings, but I don't have anything that shows me how.
I think
tall it
it's,
is,
I
high
think it's
it
a
is.
regulation like a 6-foot fence. And as I said, there's not really anything,
Vinyl.
Yes.
yeah, there's nothing that you,
I think,
where the building is, you don't really look onto the school. It shows as wooded area and the gravel area, which is the DPW use area. The area that would be the ball field is at the very end of where the building would be built. So the turnaround at the end would be the only thing that where you'd potentially be looking back there. And that's also well past the school, if you look at the plan.
yeah, when we had done the back rendering, there's a lot of vegetation. I'm sure you saw if you were there. If you don't go see it, it's hard to understand, but there is a lot of vegetation on that right side. So I think your only real exposure is that back turnaround spot. But fair point to what you asked for, to locate the ball field and make sure that we had that. So if the fence becomes a, condition, or we want to see what it looks like, we can add it to the binder.
Yeah, you're talking final 6-foot final fence or whatever you're
Yeah.
proposing.
And that's what it shows on the plan, going the length all the way to the end of the building.
any further discussion?
It's not quite as far as the ball field and stuff.
Well, it travels back in and it
Yeah.
doesn't follow once you leave the back edge of the building, it starts to curve back in. Because it looks like there's a roadway that actually, a gravel way that goes up there, so they're
Yeah.
following that line.
It's the easement. The town has an easement over the property to get back to the well. I also think that might be where the
Well, yeah, water and
Water.
electric easement.
plant, treatment plant was being constructed, right? Is that where it's
Oh,
being built?
PFAS thing, I think it
Yeah.
was back there, yes.
Yeah.
The new water treatment plant is back in that area.
Yeah.
So quite a distance away, but that's how the town accesses it. So yes, so the fence does continue, but it curves into our property again, so it doesn't run right along the property line.
Or actually, you wouldn't be able to see anything.
Is there any further comments from anyone in the audience? So at this point, obviously, I think we need to wait on the peer review. Get that through, have the proposal, business hours and things of that nature. Sample of the fencing that can be seen, in the details.
So the 13th. We've already got 4 applications on there, one new public hearing, 2 continuances, and then the Red Mill. And then the September one, you've got the Pearl Street and then the continuance of the 180 Payne Street, but I think they're gonna continue again. Another couple more months.
If the September one, we do the first.
Yeah, you've got stuck the last couple behind folks, the last couple meetings.
Starting to get it caught.
Well.
It's
Yeah.
just the way it is.
I assumed it was me.
Yeah.
So which one are you really suggesting strongly for them, for to continue to,
Does the board like September?
we can't do August.
Yeah, no.
That's September.
So it's what, September 10th?
September 10th, yes, at 7 PM.
And then a motion to continue the 316 Hartford Ave development to September 10th at 7 PM in the Arcane meeting room. Can we get a motion? Jasmine, second.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Patrick. Roll call.
Steve, I.
Patrick, aye.
Bill, I.
Marty, aye.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Be on the lookout for the funding for the supplementals. Thank you. Because obviously that needs to happen. Thank you, Tom. Matt, sorry. Thank you. Just as I went to turn around to find that.
Yeah, thank you.
Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes from June 25th? Anyone have any edits, corrections?
I have 0.
I have none.
Also.
Yeah,
Oh, good.
I'll entertain a motion to accept the meeting minutes of the Thursday, June 25th. Planning board meeting at 7 PM, the Arcane meeting room. Steve, second.
Patrick, second.
Patrick. Roll call.
Patrick, aye.
Bill, I.
Marty, aye.
Jasmine,
Any old business that anyone wants to bring up?
Did we continue the applications that requested continuances? Did we vote on those?
Oh, we do, yes, that's right.
You want this?
Yeah, I just. No, I totally forgot that we have to make the motion.
Yeah.
Can I get a motion to continue the public hearing of 182 to 186 Hartford Ave? And continue the public hearing of 190, 194, 198 Hartford Ave. To August 13th, 2026 at 7 PM in the Arcane meeting room.
So moved, Bill.
Bill, thank you.
Second, Patrick.
Roll call.
Steve, I.
Patrick, aye.
Bill, I.
Marty, aye.
Jasmine,
I'd like to entertain a motion to continue the public hearing, 180 Payne Street preliminary subdivision, as well as the continued public hearing of 180 Payne Street special permit and stormwater management permit to September 10th at 7 PM in the Arcane meeting room.
So moved.
Patrick, thank you.
Jasmine, second.
Jasmine. Roll call. So we do get them.
Jasmine,
Marty, aye.
Bill, I.
Patrick, aye.
Steve, I.
Earl.
This is the decision deadline for.
Yep, the continuance forms are in the exhibits, so you can take a look just to
Thank you.
double check me.
No, don't need to. Thank you.
Entertain a motion, continue the public hearing 26 Pearl Street Development Plan to September 10th at 7 PM in the Arcane meeting room.
Move.
Steve. Second,
Jasmine,
roll call vote.
Jasmine,
Marty, aye.
Bill, I.
Patrick, aye.
Steve, I.
Motion passes 5-0. Can I get a motion to accept the minutes? We did that, yeah, sorry,
We did that.
we're good. Any old business or new business anyone wants to discuss?
I have none.
Steve?
No.
I'll make a motion, can I accept the motion for closing the meeting of July 23rd.
Motion made by Phil.
Second by Patrick,
Patrick,
Steve, I.
Patrick, aye.
Bill, I.
Marty, I,
Catherine, I.
vote. Good night, Bellingham.
Good night. We made it.
Thank you.
First one, congratulations.
Yeah.